So hi, I'm Coach Michelamonè.
And I'm Coach Vaun, the Love Alchemist.
And we are his
and her perspective.
Man, so
goofy.
And what do we do here, Vaun?
Man, you got me all off track now. We find common ground to harmonize relationships.
Awesome. And today we are going to talk about for better or for worse, or for worse and for better. We're going to have a really good conversation. This is going to be pretty hot and spicy. So we're asking you right now that you would, first of all, share, because sharing is caring. Then subscribe to our channels as well as our YouTube channel. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But make sure that you say something. Say something in the comment box while we're talking. Don't just let us talk to you or at you. Talk and engage with us. So before we move forward, let's talk about what's in your cup. What's in your cup?
Today, I went to my buddy's tea shop again, the brother down on Oglethorpe Street in Savannah, and I'm drinking pomegranate tea. And man, this is my wife's tea, but I decided to. She let me try it a little while ago, and it was pretty good. So I decided just to switch it up a little bit today. So today I'm drinking pomegranate tea from the.
I love that. I love pomegranate, so I'm sure that tastes really good.
Yeah, it's from the Ashford Tea Company, Savannah, Georgia. So man, if you're ever down in Savannah, stop by. The man has good treats. What are you drinking?
I am drinking some old-fashioned pink lemonade.
Pink lemonade. Now you switch up. Normally you drink water. Why are you switching up?
You know, I tell you, man, these hormones, I'm getting old, right? And since I'm getting old, I gotta attend to those hormones that want to make me have things like hot flashes and, So I had to put lots of ice and a little bit of lemonade.
I dig. Hey, it's better than dying young, right?
Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm drinking on today.
Yeah, lemonade. All right. Well, hey, what I mean?
So you got the shirt over there in your jeans, and your jean shirt.
Hey, it looks like you got the same thing on. Look, it almost looks like we meant to do that.
We know how to coordinate. Coordinate. Got to coordinate. Got to have it do right over here.
I could have stopped at the shirt.
You said what?
I could have stopped at the shirt, but I had to put, had to add some links to it.
Had some links to it. All right, now you go ahead. Yeah, we wasn't sitting down over here. You walk the runway.
All that, but
I can go ahead and show you. Pop your mouth.
Yeah. So what's on the agenda? What we doing? What we talking about?
Man, so this is gonna be good. So we are going to talk about for better or for worse, or should it be for worse and for better? We talk about these vows. We hear that all the time, and everybody can't wait to walk down that beautiful aisle with all the flowers, and they got all the people in the audience waiting. They bought all these nice gowns and tuxedos and beautiful rings, and oh my God, we're so excited. Oh, we can't wait. And then you get to the vows, and I will love you to death do us part, for better or for worse. And then worse happens, and then people want to leave.
Right.
So then we have to ask, what is worse? What does that mean? I really want to say, I think that they should change the vows and make them say for worse or for better.
Now, what do you think that does? What's the significance of changing that around, in your opinion? What are you thinking about that?
The reason why I think that is because I think that mind sticks on for better, because it's first, for better or for worse. And the worst kind of comes a little bit later, and they think, oh, well, that worst, what is the worst thing that could happen? And I think we have these lifetime movie views of what that worst looks like. I think that kind of, if you put the worst in front, people will think about it more and go, well, what would that worst look like?
Okay, I can see
You
how that
know?
might jog the mind a little bit. So,
Yeah.
so a lot of times when people say for better or for worse, they're thinking, well, if the money gets a little low, or like what are you saying? So give me some examples of when you think for worse or for better. What are you thinking? Like, what are some examples of the worst scenarios?
Okay, so I think, like I said, I think that we have these lifetime movie views. Lifetime movie views means that you think that, okay, for better or for worse. Well, if my husband or my wife loses their job, I'm gonna help them. I'm gonna pick up the slack, and I'm gonna pay whatever bills we need to have paid. Or they might think, well, when we get old, I'm gonna be there to help take care of my husband or my wife because we're in it, for forever, right? Or
Yeah.
things like, what if my husband or my wife was in a car accident and they lost functioning of their legs and they were in a wheelchair? Oh my God, I would of course push them around. But if you thought about the reality of those for worse, if your spouse lost their job, are they going to be sitting on the couch eating bonbons, playing video games, depressed, and looking at you sideways, and it's every time you try to get intimate with them, they telling you no because they feel less than?
Right.
Or if they are in a wheelchair and they are now dealing with that whole situation where they can no longer walk and deal with the loss of their bottom half. Are you having sex anymore? Are you dealing with that?
Right.
Are you dealing with the fact that them cursing you out because now they can't deal with the fact that something has happened to them and they're not dealing with that very well? So instead of them being nice, like you would think that they would be nice, because now I'm humbled because things are happening with my body, I'm cussing you out every 15 minutes because I can't handle this, and you bothering me because you get to walk around on your legs.
Yeah.
So I'm throwing things at you, or I'm drinking, or I'm getting high because I'm trying to drown out the depression.
Mm.
Or when you get old and that person is senile and they can't remember you, or they can't remember, all these different things. You need somebody watching after them 24/7. Is that the worst? Because we're not thinking about those types of things. We're thinking about the cute worse,
Right.
or the worst in the midst of you being in a wheelchair. I actually had that to happen with a client who her husband was in a wheelchair, and nobody on here, she didn't come from Facebook, so y'all don't think that I'm putting herself out there. But her husband was in a wheelchair, could not deal, and now they couldn't have sex, and this was years, and so she
Yeah.
started messing around on him. He didn't want to
Mm.
know, but he kind of knew, so
Yeah.
can you deal with that? I mean, what was the worst? What would you walk away for?
Mm. That's tough, and I think that oftentimes it's so easy to say what you would or wouldn't do, until you're actually in the situation. But
Yeah.
adversity has a way of bringing out, sometimes the worst in people. I mean, some people rise to the occasion, and some people will shrink from it.
Yes.
So, and you don't know. I mean, as much as you like to think you would know, as much as you like to think you would, and I think, for the most part, I think I know myself well enough to know what I would tolerate and how much I would rise to the occasion. But again, until it's game time, a lot of times we just don't know.
Yeah.
And there's one thing about, when we're having these conversations, it's easier to say what we would do, because the logical thing is to say, well, yeah, this is the right thing to do. But emotions are much more powerful than logic.
Yes.
So
That's true.
and so even when we know the right thing to do, we don't always fall in line with what that right thing is, because there's an emotional pull at us that is, it's, man, when your heartstrings are being tugged on, and then you add to the equation, like you were saying, the person could be, cussing you out and just, verbally abusing you, and those things make it even more challenging. So yeah, that for
Yeah.
worst part can be a lot uglier than we anticipate.
Your wife says hello.
My lovely
Hello,
wife,
everyone. She did, beautiful self. And then we have another comment here. Tamika says, isn't it a mindset, shrinking or growing in adversity?
yeah,
That's good. It
you,
really does have to be a mindset. You have to walk in thinking that there is no option for divorce, period.
that's right.
You know, do you know that they say that over 72% of people who walk into a marriage walk in with the option of divorce? 72%.
Wow. Now, you know,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just saying, I was going to say it makes sense. It makes
Yeah.
sense.
So when you walking in thinking already that I'm gonna get a divorce if this don't work out, if why do you have to think if it doesn't work out? Just say no, it's going to work out. Is we're gonna do what we need to do. You know, she says, your wife says that's right. Divorce is not an option. It should not ever be on the table. You know, and a lot of times what especially when you get mad, oh, I'm just leave. I'm getting divorced. I've done that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I to the point that you were making, your mindset when it comes to this thing is crucial, because depending on what, so I have a friend and they just got married, and he was telling me that they had already they got married earlier in the year, and he was telling me that they set a deadline that if it wasn't working out by this time, they will go ahead and get a divorce. And I'm like, no, man. When you do that, you've already created an exit strategy for yourself. But just imagine if those same two people said, you know what, no matter what, we're going to work it out. The mind has a way of when you. So I don't want to get too nerdy on this thing, but when you there is a programming of your subconscious mind that takes place when you hear yourself speak.
Yeah.
And so when you say to yourself, no matter what, we're going to work this out. And then you have somebody else that's right there with you in agreement saying, no matter what, we're going to work this out. Then all of a sudden your mind shifts from, okay, well, I can bail if things don't work. And everything, all your thought energy goes toward the strategy part of making sure that it works out, as opposed to the avoidance strategy, just in case it doesn't work out. There go my air quotes again. I just learned how to do that. Let me shout out some of the people in the feed. We have quite a few people. Of course, we have my lovely wife. I see Tori Clark. What's up, Tori? Hemmed in Prayer, on the Burger, Rosetta West, Brian Enrique. So some of these people are my high school friends, and some of them are some of my old Navy buddies. Rosetta West is the wonderful mother of my teacher, Dr. Reuben West. So shout out to Mama West, Tamika Nicole, Chili Jermaine. That's that's my wife's best friend, Rashida Love. Of course, my lovely wife. Man, who else? My brother, Derek Jackson. That's my little brother, my big little brother.
I love it.
So yeah. Hey everybody, good. Thank you all for joining us. Go ahead.
I'm trying to see who, because I'm trying to look at mine is frozen. Oh man.
So yeah, just you know,
that's all, right?
That's all right. We can. I was gonna say piggyback, but I gotta correct myself. I don't eat meat, so veggie back on that point. I'm telling you, amazing things happen when you have two people on one accord, and being on one accord. Derek says, "Peace to the family." Absolutely, divorce is not an option. When you have two people on one accord, just walking in agreement. And again, I like to quote some of these jewels from the Bible, where two or more are gathered in my name, right? And so when you have two people on one accord, man, amazing things can happen. There really is no limit to how far the relationship can go. And there's an African proverb that says, when you want to go quickly, go alone. But when you want to go far, go together.
And you know what? That speaks to one of the little quotes that I found. I got so much stuff over here. It says, marriage is 50% in love and 50% indifference. If you can't stand loneliness, don't get married.
Ooh. So let's dig into that a little bit. Because I don't think that being alone and being lonely are synonymous.
I don't think so either. But the loneliness, well, let me speak from a single perspective.
Okay.
The loneliness means that you have to be secure within yourself, so that if how can I put this? you would find yourself in this loneliness if you're not comfortable being by yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're not comfortable being by yourself, that's the loneliness. Then you shouldn't be married, because you cannot be waiting for that other party to fill that void. You got to be able to sit and be quiet and be by yourself, because then that's when they add to you and they are able to sit with you and not take over you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so here Rashida said that this speaks to the mindset, the individual level of emotional maturity, and it does.
Yeah.
We have to keep in mind that we, you know, if you can't be okay with you, then you're not going to be okay with somebody else. You're going to find some problems within that other person all the time, because I personally think that marriage or relationships are designed to find out really what's inside you.
Yeah, there's an Indian philosopher. His name is J. Krishnamurti, and he says the relationship is the greatest classroom for self-discovery.
I love it.
Let me say that again because I kind of jumbled it up. He said the relationship is the greatest classroom for self-discovery, and you'll be surprised that it almost presents this mirror-like objectivity, or not objectivity, but this mirror-like representation of our or for ourselves. And so it's giving us, to your point, is giving us the chance to really be introspective and look deeply and analyze ourselves. And so the what you were talking about with loneliness, I heard a man say, you're only lonely if you don't like who you're alone with.
That's good. That's good right there.
That's heavy. You're only lonely if you don't like who you're alone with.
Yeah.
So it's this thing where when so many people are out here looking for somebody to complete them. But the reality is you're supposed to show up to the relationship already a complete person, looking to share your completeness with someone, look for someone else.
Yes.
And there's a big difference.
50-50. You got to come 100-100.
100-100. Yeah.
You know, you have to be in position where you are whole. And a lot of times people are not doing that. They're not coming to the place whole. They're coming to have somebody fill some voids. And that's not what marriage is. Marriage is not there to fill a void. It is there for you to get in purpose. I put up a post earlier this week about is marriage, would you get married for money or would you get married for purpose? And one person said, I would get married for both of them, because it's about the growth and where I could go from where I currently am in my purpose, in my financial life, in my spiritual life, in every part of my life, from where I am, not from where I lack.
Wow.
Tamika said, personal development, marriage equals this person sees us for who we are, not for who we portray. That's good, because those representatives are a mess.
Yeah. And they run out of gas, you know, so they can only sustain that energy, that representation, that false representation of who you're really dealing with, who you're really relating to. They can only sustain that for so long. Because the new you, oftentimes doesn't have the strength or the speed to outrun the real you.
Yeah. So when you talk about the whole for better or for worse or for better, if you're not in a place of wholeness, a place of healing, a place of knowing who you are, then that for worse will look better, will look different than if you were hurting. Because if you're hurting and you're in a place of you're not over the last relationship, you're not over the mommy or the daddy issues, you're not over whatever issues you've gone in your life, then those worse could mirror whatever you're not healed from. Yeah. So you're thinking, okay, well, shoot, I'm not going to deal with somebody that'll talk to me a certain kind of way. Well, how do you talk to them? Well, I'm not gonna deal with somebody that can't spend 24/7 with me. Well, why do you need somebody in your face for 24/7? You know, or I'm not going to deal with somebody that has male friends and there's a guy, or he has female friends, or she has male friends. Then what are those things inside of you that you're dealing with that you think that that's the worst that you could go through?
Yeah. I knew a young lady who I was coaching at one point, and she was telling me that she just loves to talk, the freedom of expression, right? And she was telling me how oftentimes she finds that even though she knows her husband isn't listening to her, she didn't care. She just wanted to be talking anyway. And so, you know, that was just real odd for me, because, you know, what is it about that dynamic in the two of you relating that, one, that he's so disinterested in what you're saying, and two, you're more concerned with just being able to talk than whether or not there's real communication taking place.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that lets you know that there or at least at the very least, she was operating from a very unhealthy space. And I really didn't know him, so I don't know what his mindset was, but the fact that she didn't feel like he even had to respond to what she was saying, he didn't care. I mean, she didn't care that he wasn't responding. She just, as long as he was there and she could just talk, she didn't need any feedback. She didn't. It was a real strange.
Yeah, and it sounds like she's dealing, like you said, she's dealing with like Tamika Nicole just said, bridging those deficits, not filling the voids, bridging growth. Yeah. And so there's a deficit that was within her where she felt like she wasn't being heard. So all she wanted to do was just talk. But my thing is, what's the point in you talking if you're not being heard? You know, I'm in the process of becoming a licensed marriage and family therapist. So one of the assignments that we had this past week was to talk to somebody and not say anything for an entire minute. So it taught me something about myself, that I'm a fixer and that I'm always trying to fix things. So instead of listening to I would begin to, I had it in me like, oh, I want to say this because I think this will fix the problem. And I was quiet because it was part of the assignment. So I began to get quiet. And by the time the first person finished, they had already answered the question that I was really going to ask. And it had fixed itself. And so what that taught me is that we have to get outside of, let me get out what I need. This is all about me. Relationships are about giving and receiving. They're not all about you giving what you want. It's about giving what that person needs. And if that person, you know, as weird as it may sound to us, if all she needed to do was be listened to, apparently if he's doing that, I guess it's working for him.
No, well, they broke up.
Oh, okay. I was trying to help.
No, you know, because and here's the thing, so she wanted me to be her coach and to kind of help her work through some things that she was going through.
Right.
And in the process, you know, I found that she did a lot of complaining about who he was, the things that he would do. She would say things like, you know, she complained about his work ethic. She complained about his hygiene, and just a list of things that she would complain about. And you know, I didn't really want to go in on him because, you know, what sense does it make to double team him? So I flipped it on her. And I said, well, if all of these things are wrong with him, why is he qualified to be your boyfriend? Pause.
Right.
And she didn't like that perspective, but that's real. If you find so many things that are wrong with the person that you're in a relationship with, and I don't think sometimes we take a pause long enough to hear what it is that we're actually saying. But I mean, she had this laundry list of things that he could just do better and be better. Why is he qualified? What's so wrong with you that he shows up with this list of things that's wrong with him, and yet he's still qualified to occupy the position as your man?
Yeah. I do the same thing with my clients. I do not let them, we are not getting out of a session without me talking about you. It's going to end up being all about you. All of it is all about you. It's about where are you? Because like you said, what would what would draw her to somebody that had so much wrong with them?
And this goes back to that that Indian philosopher. It's the relationships. J. Krishnamurti said that the relationships are the greatest classroom for self-discovery. And so there was a lot that she had to learn about herself in that process. Like, okay, if this guy can show up, he ain't bathing, he barely want to go to work, all he want to do is play video games, and he ain't listening to nothing I got to say, what is wrong with me where that's okay?
Right.
And so,
something's missing.
Shortly after our sessions began, I would say, I think within 2 months, they broke up.
Wow.
And so it was already logical. This goes back to the point I was making before. It was logical the first time I mentioned it to her, but there's an emotional pull, right? So emotions are more powerful than logic. So even though she knew this ain't the place I need to be, she had to first get herself to where she needed to be emotionally so that she could let go of that crutch that she was calling a relationship with this guy. And so thankfully she was able to do that, evolve beyond that. And, she's in a much better place now.
Yeah. Because she had to step outside of herself.
Yeah.
She had to master. And Tamika says, complaining, you cannot help what you're judging. You cannot love what you're judging. That's true. But she had to get out of the place of that emotional space. And a lot of times, I have an acronym called STAR: stop, think, assess, respond. And when we're in our emotions, we are not, like you said, not logical. We're not thinking about logically, how is this affecting me? What is it doing? Is this a logical place for me to be in? Is this something I should be doing? And then we react versus responding. So if you stop, you get into the place where you are emotional, just stop. I don't care what you're doing. Stop. Think about it. Think about why is this affecting you in this manner? What is really going on? Is there something happening within your body? Are you having, hormonal changes? Are you dealing with something outside of the situation? You assess those things, and then respond and not react. Because so many times we're always reacting to what's happening to us rather than responding to what's happening for us. Because many times in relationships, like we keep saying, the relationships are designed to figure out what's happening within us so that we can fix it. It's not for us to go, everything is happening to me. Why is this always happening to me? No, why is this happening for me? What should I be learning from this? What should I be getting from this so that I can ultimately change and alter some things in my life so that I can become better?
I like that. I like how you flip that. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? You said, why is this happening for me?
For me.
And that, I can see the value in shifting that perspective because it's an empowering perspective. Absolutely. As opposed to a victim perspective. So it's like one perspective makes you a victim, the other one makes you a victor.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So and this is also why it's critically important to be logical when we're entering a relationship first before becoming emotional, because, and again, this whole emotion versus logic thing, people like to say that women are emotional and men are logical, but I beg to differ. I think men are just as men experience just as much emotion as women do. We just respond in different ways. And so if, like we were talking behind stage about our lists, right? Some guys say, well, she's gotta have this and she's gotta be that. She's gotta at least make as much money as I make. And some women may say, well, he's gotta at least be this tall, or whatever the criteria is. These are all emotional factors, right? But what about that person's character? Does all you have to do is be cute and have a nice body, but you can't trust her with your checkbook?
Right.
Does all he have does all he have to offer is tall, or a six-figure income, but you don't trust him, when he's out of town? I mean, so there has to be another criteria that we're basing our relationships on, and it has to go far beyond the material. It has to go far beyond what's cute and what's the flavor of the month. And I like to say, like I was telling you before, my number one criteria would be character.
Yeah.
Now, don't get it twisted. I'm a face man. She's got to, look nice. She's got to be easy on the eyes, but she don't have to be a dime. She don't have to be a 10 or even a 9. I mean, look, I'll take a 5 who gives me 10 in effort over a dime who gives me a half-ass effort any day.
Well, that's coming from a man who got a 10.
Well, these are facts. But but the best part about it, there are a lot of nice looking people out here who leave a lot of hurt and pain in their wake.
You're right.
Right. And so even though my wife, she, most people will look at her and say she's nice looking and all of that. But the reality is her effort and her character are much stronger than her physical appearance. Yeah. And so, and that's the kind of thing that allows you to get over because beauty over time, I mean, we're not going to look the same at 75 as we did at, 25.
Right.
But what is it about her? What else is there about her that, or about whoever you're dealing with that keeps you attracted to that person? There's got to be more than cute.
Right. It really does, because that's where that worse goes. Because once you get over the ooh and the ah, oh, he's so cute, ooh, she's so cute, oh, all these things. Okay, and what else do you have working in there? Are they going to care for you, care for your heart, whether you're standing in front of them or you're away from them? Are they caring for your name? Because my thing is this: whether I'm taking his, whether a woman's taking his name or she's taking his name, you still have to show up and represent me. Are you representing me the way I would? Right. And if you can't say that the person that you're with is representing you the way that you would, you have to wonder, why are you doing that? Why are you even in that particular situation? Because I wouldn't want somebody that I have to wonder every 5 minutes what they doing, who they with, who they friends, who, all of these things, so that you can walk around stressed out because of the relationship, because you don't know how they're going to respond or react. So we have to really get in mind, and that speaks to some other stuff that we're going to talk about another time. But one of the things is this is okay. So when we talk about what the better or for worse is, or the worse and for better is, do you think that those things should be outlined? I always go to a whole thing of, do we need a contract for real? Do we need a contract saying what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing not to do, so that up front we know what we're dealing with?
So this goes to, I think everybody should have their set ideas of non-negotiables. So there's a lot of things that, or I should say, there are some things that we're going to be flexible with, right? But there are some things that are just strictly, that are purely non-negotiable. Like, for instance, you can't be cussing me out.
Right.
I'm not flexible on that.
Right.
I'm not flexible with you being so upset that you feel like you got to smack me just because things didn't go your way. So there are some things that are non-negotiable.
Right.
Some examples of some things that might be negotiable. Let's say, my ideal mate, my wife is 5'4". So let's just say in my mind, I had a medium brown skinned woman who's 5'4" and blah, blah, blah. Right. And so let's say she shows up and she's 5'3". And let's say she might be a little heavier than I expected, than my ideal mate. So instead of 160, maybe she's 180. I don't know. We can go to the gym. We can work that out. So there are some things that are negotiable. There are some things that are non-negotiable. And I think that we have to have, when you know yourself, right? First, know thyself, right? Yes. And so when you know yourself and when you're secure within yourself, I think that's equally important as knowing yourself. When you're secure with who you are, then you're going to be a lot less flexible on those things that matter to you more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you have to have those things, and it can't be these superficial things. You got to think past the, how much money does he make? How how much money does she make, what do they look like. You got to get past those things. When you can get past those things, you can really dig into, are they really there for you? Are they really capable of being the person that you need them to be? Because you can change, like you said, you could teach somebody how to work out. You can work out with them together. You can show somebody how to make some money. You know, all you need is a willing vessel.
Right.
If they're willing to do those things, like you said that in one of our other talks, if they're willing to do these things and willing to be there for you and willing to want to please you, because that's part of this. That's a major part of it. We're not in these relationships to say how much I want, how much I want, how much I want. It's about how much I can please my partner, how much I can give to my partner. And if we're both thinking like that on the same level, I'm going to talk about how much I want to go please my partner, and he's thinking about how much he wants to please me. Then we both winning. We winning all the way. You know, but if we don't know exactly, like you said, what that looks like for us, then when those things come up, we act like we surprised. Like, I didn't know that they would do that. Well, you didn't check to see if they wouldn't.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, this is the importance of being equally yoked.
Yeah.
Right? Because
absolutely.
if I'm doing my best to please my wife, right? But we're not equally yoked. We're not on the same page. We don't want the same things necessarily. We're not necessarily going in the same direction. We're not walking hand in hand. We're not on one accord, right? No matter how much I try, no matter how much of my best effort I'm giving, it's causing me so much pain because so in other words, the harder it is to please her, the more I try, the more pain it causes me.
Yes.
If we're not equally yoked. So then it goes a little, just to add to what you were saying, yes, it's about working to please my mate, but it's also about, you know, when I talk about being on one accord, how much is it a drain on me to give her my best effort, or is there a relative ease with which she can receive my best effort and then reciprocate?
Yeah.
So, and this goes into that whole, you know, the 5 love languages, you know, being able to understand who we're dealing with, right? And then I'm gonna touch on a little bit of love alchemy, right? So this is and much of what we're talking about is love alchemy, but this is one area of love alchemy that that many people don't address. So let's just say, for instance, I go into a bar and I see this young lady, and we're pretending I'm single, right? So a young man goes into a bar and he comes across this young lady. There was a time back in the day where one of the first questions in the early part of the relationship is, you know, what's your sign? Right? Mm-hmm. Remember that? Hey, little mama, what's your sign? That's what it devolved to. It became a pickup line.
Yes.
But really, there's a much higher way of thinking as it pertains to trying to find out what someone's sign is, because learning what their sign is how you learn how to relate to that person. And then you can also measure how well you can relate to them based on who you are. Because it's not just about who they are, it's also about who they are within the context of relating to you, and vice versa. So I'm an Aries, right? I'm born in March 27th. I'm an Aries. And I know what I want. I know what I like. I need what I need, right? And so I go into this bar and I meet this young lady, and she's just gorgeous, head to toe, everything I want, 5'4", medium brown, all that. But she's a Libra. Okay. Now, Aries and Libra are polarity. Right. So, and I don't want to say opposites as much as it's just there's an energy that exchange that occurs between the two of them, that it just so happens that it makes them it makes each other the most challenging path toward harmony in an intimate relationship.
Okay.
And so if I don't know this going in, then I'm looking like, man, I'm doing everything I can. And she's saying, I'm doing everything I can. But for whatever reason, we're missing each other. We're not connecting on some of the most intimate and the deepest levels, that despite us both being good people and both being Muslims or Christians or, you know, thinking we're equally yoked as it relates to religion we subscribe to, and
right.
having the same likes, and oh, she's outgoing and I'm outgoing, or she's an extrovert and I'm an extrovert. All of these things align, but there's still an energy exchange that needs to take place. And when we don't understand, when we come across someone who just so happens to be our polarity, then there's a dynamic that takes place that makes that relationship much more challenging. And no matter how hard we try, until we understand what we're dealing with, we're gonna frustrate ourselves.
But that goes into knowing who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If a person can come in, because how many times back in the day when we were doing that, well, what's your sign? Well, what's my sign? My sign is this. I'm Sagittarius. You know, you would go and read your horoscope for the day.
Right.
And then you would take that and you would run with it. But there's more to the alchemy of that. And that means you need to know what that means for you. Yeah. What does that mean during different times, right? It counts in all of that. It does not just go, well, let me read my horoscope today. So, can you let the people know what that really means? Because people can take that and go, well, I'm just going to go read my horoscope and go find out, go Google who goes with Sagittarius is best.
Right. So the horoscope is, for the most part, those are, bubblegum machine, it's just there to get your money. Right. And it's very gimmicky, but there's a real science. And this is what we talked about. I believe it was last week, where we talked about the things that there was an agreement made of what to deprive Black people from. And there was the science of war, there's the science of economics, and there's the science of relating, or the science of mating, right? And so this science of relating is what we're talking about. This is what I'm referring to when I say love alchemy. And so it goes deeper than, and I help people all the time with this kind of thing. And it goes so much deeper than what you can just get out of the bubblegum machine. Oh, Sagittarius is going to have a great day today. Be on the lookout for the love of your life.
Right.
You need to be able to recognize who the love of your life is, but equally important, you need to be able to recognize who they ain't, to use my best English, right?
Right.
And so I'll just give a quick rundown. Each of the 12 signs has a known polarity. And so James Gifford said, let me just address what James Gifford says. He says, my wife.
We had a couple of them.
Okay.
Go up a little bit.
Let me see. Stephanie Johnson says, great conversation. Glad I came across this today. Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie. Anana says, are they caring for my heart? That's good. Powerful. Yeah. Tamika says, I love that too. It encourages gratitude.
Yeah, she was referring to the loving the heart, I believe.
Yeah. James says, my wife and I differ in many ways, but what I learned early in our relationship was the places where she differed from me was the places where I was weak, and through her, I gained strength. I was in denial of my weaknesses, but she saw them. Yeah. Now, see, that speaks to complementarity.
Yeah.
And that's a principle where two equally qualified but different individuals come together to compensate for what the other one lacks.
Yeah.
And that's a really powerful concept. There's a scholar out of Atlanta named Mwalimu Baruti, and he speaks on the complementarity principle. Very, very deep, very powerful ideas as it pertains to relating. But and even in this whole astrology zodiac thing, this kind of goes in line with that idea. So I just real quick, I'll go down the 12, and I'll handle 2 at a time since each one has its own polarity. So I'll start at the top with Aries, of course, because I'm number 1. Aries number 1, y'all. We represent.
Please share this so everybody can see him being number 1. Share and sharing.
Share this, man. Share this video because somebody needs to hear this. Somebody needs to hear this. Somebody needs to know these things because these are very critical aspects of relating to one another and also relating to ourselves, right? Yeah. So number 1 would be Aries. And the polarity for Aries, as I described, is Libra. So, and it doesn't mean that they're your opposite. It doesn't mean that you can't have a healthy relationship with them. It just means that that's the most challenging path toward harmony for the Aries and the Libra, is to be in a relationship with each other. Right behind Aries is the Taurus. And so the polarity for Taurus is the Scorpio. And so same dynamic, right? So right behind, so Scorpio and Taurus. And right behind Taurus is Gemini. And so for the Gemini, the polarity is Sagittarius. That's you, Coach Michelamonè.
Yeah.
Gemini is the most challenging path toward harmony for the Sagittarius. Behind Gemini, is that number 3? I don't want to lose count. Number 4 would be Cancer. And the most challenging path toward harmony for the Cancer is the Capricorn. Okay. And number 6 is, what am I doing? Let's see, where we at? 6, Leo. Thinking these up. I didn't plan on talking about these, so I got to go off memory. So for Leo, the most challenging relationship, the most challenging path toward harmony is Aquarius. So, yeah. So it doesn't mean, again, it doesn't mean that these relationships can't find harmony, but you have to understand the nature of what you're dealing with so that you can find harmony within the context of relating to who you're in a relationship with. Did I hit all 6? 1, 2.
You got 1, 2, 3. No, you got, wait. I'm only so, okay, yeah. You said Virgo, Pisces, right?
Oh, Virgo and Pisces. That's my wife. That's my better half right there.
Yes, helping, man. I'm over here.
That's my baby.
I love it.
So Virgo and Pisces is the other. How could I forget that? My wife is a Pisces. Anyway, so Virgo and Pisces, and the interesting thing about that, and this is why I emphasize the idea that it doesn't, just because they're your polarity doesn't mean that you can't find harmony and have a loving, lasting relationship. Our best friends are in a polarity-based relationship. She's a Virgo and he's a Pisces.
Wow.
And they've been married, I think, a couple years longer than my wife and I. So they have 32, 33 years in the game, and they're going strong. So go ahead.
We're going to have to do one, talk about who goes with who. We can talk about who don't go. We want to know who go with who.
I can touch on that real quick if you want me to.
Yeah, Stephanie said that's her. Capricorn and Cancer. It's been definitely work.
Okay, well, there you go. And see, now I'm glad she said that, because this whole idea about opposites attract, right? The truth is there is a lot of energy between these polarity signs. And so when the Cancer comes in contact with the Capricorn, Ramonda West says, my husband and I are Cancer and Capricorn.
Yeah.
When there's such a powerful connection that the sparks fly. Just if you just think in terms of, if you've ever jumped the car before, and you take the cables, once you connect them to one car, and you take the cables and you touch them together, and you get these sparks, right? That's what a polarity relationship looks like. And the reality is that's what it actually comes from, because one terminal in the battery is the positive and the other side is the negative. Right? And it doesn't mean that one person is negative. It just means that that's where the difference of potential, the polarity difference is. And so sparks, I mean, it's very magnetic. It's highly charged, and the romance is off the charts. This is in the early going, right? And so by the time, oftentimes, if you don't learn what it is that you're dealing with, you'll find yourself in love with somebody that you don't even like.
Wow. And so this goes to that whole, I think we got to, okay, I guess it's gone. This goes to that whole for better, for worse. You have to know who you are in order to know what you're willing to accept. Because if you don't, so I want everybody to know that we still are on the same page. We have not veered too far to the left. We're still talking about that, because you have to know who you are more compatible with, and not worry about the outside of what it looks like or how hot the sex is, so that you can know if you're going to deal with this long term, if you really want a long-term relationship. If all you want is to hit it and quit it, go ahead. Get with the Capricorn, and you know what I'm saying. You know, if that's what you want to do. No, but I know y'all been there. I'm just joking, y'all. I'm a jokester. So, but listen. So go ahead, Finch. This is good. This is good. Go ahead.
Let's see. I read Ramonda already. She says her husband and I are Capricorn and Cancer. Derek says Leo, and my wife is an Aquarius, and we have worked to keep it harmonious. Growth and maturity was huge. Desiree says opposites attract.
Right.
Ramonda says 16 years married, and it has been a ride, but with I don't know what the hands mean, but I guess good times, praise and prayer.
Prayer and praise.
Yeah. And so it really is something that, you know, unfortunately, nobody has shared these things with us, and we're having to learn it the hard way.
So tell the folk who they go with. Tell them people who they go with.
So typically, there are 4 quadrants, right? Ramonda said is worth it. Good, good, excellent. There are 4 quadrants, right? You have the earth signs, which are the Virgo. Now you're challenging me to go off memory now. So the earth signs are the Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus. And so typically they are more harmonious within themselves.
Okay.
Now, of course, they can find harmony outside, right? But all of the earth signs typically find a little more harmony within themselves, except for it's always a little more challenging when it's sign on sign. So Capricorn with Capricorn, because there's too many similarities there, and they tend to find, I won't say too many, but there are so many that it begins to be a little bit more challenging. So Capricorn with Capricorn, Taurus with Taurus, Virgo with Virgo, those tend to be a little bit more challenging. But within that triangle, Capricorn with Virgo, Virgo with Taurus, and any of the 3 mixtures, they tend to find a little more harmony within that group. The next one would be the air signs. So that's Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Those are your air signs. And so they tend to find a little more harmony within their group, with the same idea of sign on sign being more challenging. The fire signs is the Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And so those 3 tend same dynamic, you know, Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries. And then last but not least is the water signs. These are the most sensitive of the entire zodiac. So that's your Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio.
Okay.
And they all tend to have, you know, again, so within the context of relating to each other, they tend to, and of course, let me preface by saying a bad person is a bad person no matter what your zodiac sign is.
Right.
So you can have a Leo and an Aries, and on paper, they look great. But if you got somebody who's self-absorbed, narcissistic, you know, just a bad person, doesn't matter what your sign is, it ain't working.
Right.
Unless both of y'all crooked, and then, you know, happily ever after.
Right, happily ever after.
Yeah.
James said, I'm a Sagittarius, the hunter, and my wife is Pisces, the fish, and I love me some seafood. Hey. All right now, James.
Yeah. Let's see.
Your wife put up the Earth, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, Air, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini. She's helping you out over here, bruh. Aries, fires, Aries, Sagittarius, and Leo. And then waters, Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, there's another dynamic I can add in, but I'm not going to go too far into this one because for the sake of time, but there is a Chinese aspect of all of this too that deals with the year that you were born. So if you come across someone that's 6 years older than you or 6 years younger than you, then they become your Chinese polarity. And so then you have some people who are actually your double polarity. So I'm an Aries, my daughter is a Libra. Now this goes for parents and children too. Okay.
Wow.
And so oftentimes we actually give birth to our polarity. And this is why you have some parents that say, man, no matter how much I try, I just can't get through to that doggone child.
Right.
Well, oftentimes we've given birth to our polarity, and until we learn how to meet them where they are, as opposed to where we wish they were, right? This creates a challenge. So that Chinese aspect adds, you know, for the sake of time, I won't really go into that, but just know that 6 years older, 6 years younger. And then
ain't every divorce I done had. Lord have mercy.
It gets deep, but again, I mean, some people might say, yeah, we don't feel like dealing with all that. We don't want to learn all that. It's too time consuming. Well, it's a lot less painful and a lot less time consuming than the emotional turmoil that you have to go through trying to peel yourself out of some of these, hurtful relationships.
And a lot less expensive.
A lot less expensive. Yeah.
Cause them divorces, man, I swear. That is so interesting. We gotta really do like a whole thing on this so that people can get it, because we need to know that. And like you said, if they have purposely kept us from knowing how to relate to each other, because they saw us relating back before the 60s, 50, 54. I'm sorry, I got to get this right.
I'll just jump in and I'll say in the 60s, 80% of our households were led by two parents.
Yes. And that's why I wanted to get to that number, because and they were married.
Yeah.
And then they decided, then the 70s hit and they started separating our families because they figured out, wait a minute, they doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
They able to put a whole Wall Street together. They able to do, to create internal wealth in their communities. If we don't break this up, they're going to take over our United States.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to know that in order for us to really, we talk about all these things about our communities coming together. We talk about our communities building wealth. We talk about all these things that we want to happen within our community. If we do not get to the place of learning how to relate with each other, be it husband, wife, be it mother, child, be it father, child, be it friend, siblings, if we don't learn how to relate to each other, we will become extinct.
Yeah. Yeah.
These things are very important, y'all. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, this is why we do the show.
Yeah. And your wife said we need a show on this, like I just said.
I would love to actually have a couple to come on, especially one that's in one of these polarity relationships. I don't know if we have anybody in the feed that would be willing to do that. But we could do, man, maybe one of these shows, we can do a live couples coaching, if you want to call it that. But I would love to have someone who's a polarity relationship, particularly one. Well, I won't even put any parameters on that. Just a polarity relationship. If we can do a live one and just kind of talk about some of the challenges, and you'd be surprised how many of these challenges, because I've been dealing with this and helping so many couples with this already, when they tell me what their signs are, I already know what the challenges are. So if somebody comes to me and say, yeah, man, I'm a Pisces, my wife is a Virgo, I already know what their challenges
what the issues are.
Yeah. Before they even tell me. Now, of course, they can have some deeper issues too, because childhood trauma and cheating and all these different things can further complicate it. But just the foundational issues, I already know what those are when they come to me. Yeah. Especially if they're in a polarity-based relationship.
Yeah.
So, we need to, Stephanie says, my Cancer won't do it.
Won't do it. Yeah. Yeah.
So, maybe
I do the same thing with the DISC. With taking the DISC assessment and doing the same thing on a different type of level. Mm-hmm. So I think that when we learn who we are and our internal behaviors, then we can learn how to relate to each other.
Yep.
So I think we definitely should do a show on that. And y'all need to come on out. Y'all done put y'all stuff on out here, because I'm the ghetto side of this. Y'all put y'all stuff out here, go home and tell y'all's family, your husband, your wife, we gonna be on this show. Yeah. We don't have to. How about this? What if we did it? What if we did like y'all don't have to tell who y'all are if y'all don't want to get on camera, but we talk to you on voice. How about that?
Either way, yeah, I'm cool.
For those people who don't want to, get on camera. Hello, host. Are you
saying air with air, water with water, etc.?
Okay.
So
is that what you're saying?
kind of in a sense, what I'm saying is that those relationships tend to find the easiest path toward harmony, but it doesn't mean exclusively that it has to be that way. So, for instance, my wife is water and I'm fire, and so too much of either of us can put the other one out. Too much fire can evaporate water. Too much water can douse the flame. But if we find the right synergy, then we can have a lot of steam.
Ah, look at that.
See, you picking up my name? So, and so here we are, 32 years now. I mean, we've been married 30, but together 32. And I mean, man, I think our relationship is as good as it gets. So, I tell
you, because y'all so dang cute. I keep saying y'all so dang cute.
Thank you.
Desiree, I told him I was gonna buy y'all t-shirts to say y'all so dang cute. He said he was not wearing it.
You know, I let somebody else call me cute. I ain't calling myself cute. I think babies are cute, and I think puppies are cute, and that's about as far as.
My man got a problem with the word cute. It's just you can't be cute without her. You cute with her. Y'all so dang cute.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. I take it because I know you mean it as a compliment, but that's I ain't saying it. I don't even call my grandsons cute. I say they handsome.
Handsome. Okay, fine. I can't say y'all so dang handsome.
It is what it is. You say what works for you. I'm just saying you ain't gonna catch me calling myself cute. I ain't doing
no, but if you got the t-shirt on, is that you saying it?
I ain't wearing no t-shirt to say I'm cute either. I ain't gonna do it. There got to be a man law somewhere that says thou shalt not call thyself cute. There's got to be a man law.
Is there a man law somewhere?
Right now.
Okay, Tiara Marie says handsome couple.
Thank you, Tiara. I appreciate that.
Okay, so but that's not like catchy. That's not like t-shirt catchy.
I understand what you mean, and your intentions are received.
Whatever.
I ain't doing it. I ain't going.
Anyway, huh? I think they so dang cute.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Nina Brooks said that is so special. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This was a great talk. We had good. What y'all don't have no questions for us? Let's see if we got some other. Oh my! I think I'm off of Facebook jail.
All right, look at God. Won't He do it?
Won't He do it? Because I'm getting comments from my personal page on this feed.
I see Tiara Marie Daniels. She says, "My husband is a Scorpio and I'm a Pisces." So there you go. So foundationally speaking, beautiful. It doesn't get any better than that. Now that doesn't mean, look, like we were talking about before, no relationship is ever on autopilot. Right?
I love that.
So what Les Brown says, life is like a fight for territory. And I like to flip that just to adjust it just a little bit. And I like to say that your relationship is like a fight for territory. And in the moment you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want automatically begins to take over. I'm going to say it again. Your relationship is like a fight for territory. And in the moment you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want automatically begins to take over. There is no neutral. There is no resting ground. You have to continue to work toward what it is that you want. And in doing that, you can find harmony in nearly any relationship, regardless of what the stars might say. There are just some relationships that have a simpler path toward that harmony than others.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. James said, I agree, Vaughn says, cute is a no-no.
My man. So you?
Right. Tiara Marie Daniels says, that's interesting. I think that, I said this to my couples, that relationships, marriage is like two cars on opposite ends of the street, and they are traveling 100 miles an hour towards each other, into each other to become that one. What's going to happen when they collide is there going to be some pain. There's going to be some hurt. You might see some blood. You're going to find that it's going to cause some movement that may not feel good when you're trying to do this. it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be some work. You're gonna have to do something. You cannot think that you automatically gonna come together. Oh, we no. If you think that, then you kind of think in oblivious. You're not thinking clearly. You cannot take two separate individuals and bring them together and think that it's going to be easy for that to happen, no matter how much the stars or how much the disc or how much any of the things that we've learned about ourselves. You're still going to have to do the work. And marriage is not easy. It is work, but it's well worth it.
Yeah. People say it's hard work. I say it's not hard work, it's hard work.
It's hard work. I love that. I love that.
And I'm telling you, man, when you have two hearts that are in alignment, there is no relationship that cannot work. And I said this last week. It's not there are a lot of couples out here that are winning, but the couples that are winning are not winning because they do extraordinary things. They're winning because they do ordinary things better than other couples.
All the time.
And so some of these ordinary things, again, I mean, it's just being purposeful in communicating and being purposeful in doing your best to understand what your mate is saying. Being purposeful in spending time together. I mean, these are really some very ordinary things that you probably did at the beginning of your relationship. The problem is you got comfortable and you began taking each other for granted. And, before you know it, that person that in the beginning of the relationship felt so good giving to you and doing for you, they began to feel depreciated, devalued. And then it becomes a little bit more laborious, a little bit more laborious in trying to do for you the things that once brought them so much joy.
Yeah. You cannot think that you climbing a mountain and get to the top and lay down and rest. No, keep climbing the mountain. Just keep going, because it's gonna make you stronger. Your arms will get stronger, your legs will get stronger. You'll start to look at that person a little bit easier because you'll think, wow, they still with me.
And the relationship gets better. The relationship can get better. It continuously grows because, I mean, there were times where I thought that, me and my wife were as close as we could possibly be. And that was 10 years ago.
Wow.
And then 5 years ago, I was like, man, when I thought we couldn't get any closer, boom, here we are. And we were just talking this morning, like, man, it seems like we're continuously getting closer.
I love that.
Growing closer. And so, but that comes from that hard work. That comes from the continuous effort to make sure that our ideals and our vision align.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Remains that. James Guilford said, I agree, Coach Michelamonè. We have Tia Marie who says, ouch, but you're right. If expected to be too easy, you may think a normal problem is something bigger than it is.
Yeah, that's real rap.
It is. So this has been great, y'all. We've been having a good conversation. Thank y'all so much for engaging with us and talking to us, because we don't want this to be some regular visual cast or podcast or live stream. We want to talk with you. We want to know what you have to say to us, what we have to, if what we're saying to you, if you're in agreement or even if you're in disagreement with it, because we know that, his and her perspective, but we also have your perspective, and we love to have that too. So make sure that you are sharing, subscribing, and just saying something. So one of the things that we want you to do is tell somebody else about this. Tell somebody else about the conversations that you heard this tonight. Share it with someone else and talk about it. Because next week I want to know who came on from the week before, if you shared what we talked about and what you learned, because we would love to hear that too, so that we can know that what we're doing is worthwhile. We're not just on here just to be talking, just to waste your time or waste our time. We're here because we want to make sure that we're serving you and serving you well. So Rosetta West said she enjoyed the conversation. Pisces and Libra in my house, 53 years of hard work for me. I believe it till death do us part. That's beautiful. I love that. Then we have Stephanie says, thank you. I would definitely be contacting both for upcoming events and projects. Yes, we are open to that, live all the time. Whatever you need us to do. His and her perspective with Coach Vaun and Coach Michelamonè, we will be there. Right?
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you know, I know that there are a lot of people out here. And one of the things about us is that we, Black folk, I'm talking to my heavenly melanated folk, right?
Yeah.
Now, we tend to experience the most, or I should say, a disproportionate amount of pain. But yet we're the slowest to get help for that pain that we're in. And I'm talking about relationship pain primarily, right? Don't suffer in silence. You know, you have two people here who are doing this work because we really want to see people heal. We really want to see relationships work. We're doing our best to improve the health of relationships all over, but especially in our community. And so, if there's anything that you feel like either one of us can do, don't hesitate to reach out. This is what we do. And not only is this what we do, but we enjoy doing it. So if you're experiencing anything in your relationship where you feel like you need some help to get better or to improve, again, don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach out to Coach Michelamonè or reach out to me. You can contact us through Facebook, through our websites, whatever.
Our email at harmony@hisandherperspective.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
harmony@hisandherperspective.com.
Yeah, because that's something that has been programmed to us, that it is a weakness for us to reach out for help, for us to say, hey, you know, we need some marriage therapy, we need some relationship coaching, we need something. And we need to understand that we are not islands unto ourselves. The good word that I love says that it was not good for man to be alone. And that simply means that we cannot do it for ourselves. You know, even us as coaches, we need coaches. We need someone to be able to help us because we're helping so many and we're pouring out to so many people. You can't do it yourself. No dentist can lay down and do their own teeth. No surgeon can lay down and do surgery on themselves. No one person can do these things for themselves. So you need somebody outside of yourself that has a clear vision, clear mindset, and especially who has been trained not only through experience but through the things that we've gone through to be able to help the people that we help. We spend a lot of time, you know, you can't know about Love Alchemy like Coach Vaun does without studying, without going in deeper and trying to find out why. He's not just doing this for himself. He's doing it so that he can help other people. I don't go and do the things I do with find out more classes that I'm doing to be able to just get it for myself. It's all for us to be able to help you all. So we really want you all to know that we are here. And we hope that even you sharing sometimes with your spouse who doesn't want to have coaching or who doesn't want to have therapy or anything like that, just let them view the videos. Let them see his and her perspective, because we're coming from two different roles. And I love our dynamic because here you are. I talked about this before, and I'm not ashamed of any of this that I say. Coach Vaun has been married with his wife for 32 years. I've been married and divorced 4 times. I'm not ashamed to say that. Why? Because I understand some of the dynamics of the things I did in order to get me through divorce. Doesn't mean it was all my fault, but I know that there are some things I had to do to get healed, delivered, and set free, if you will, for me to be able to now be in position to have myself prepared for the next husband. Because I'm going to get married again. Y'all all pray. Y'all saints on there, pray. Y'all pray for us. But when it comes, I'm going to be ready, and I'm not going to be talking about divorce again. You know what I'm saying? So we are here for y'all, and I'm off my soapbox.
Yeah.
Stephanie says, okay, she said we talked about that. Jacqueline Francis Tesler says, as a mother, one of the things I teach my daughter is there's a difference between being independent and exerting her independence. I believe woman exerting her independence is a turnoff in a relationship. I'm not trying to take the blame off men, but it's a daughter that I have. So my responsibility is to groom her to allow room for that man to lead.
Wow.
We gonna have to that's another conversation we're gonna have to have, Jacqueline Francis Tesler, because I think we both got some things to say about that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. We'll table that one for sure. Uh-oh, are you frozen over there? There we go.
Yeah, you froze a little bit.
Okay.
What you say?
No, that's the same thing I was saying. Looked like you froze, but I guess one of us did.
We both did, I guess.
Yeah. Derek Jackson says, great content, his and hers. The flow of the show continues to grow. The rhymes, yo. That rhymes, yo.
Thank you so much. I love you all. Y'all are so great to being on here with us. Thank you so much.
Yes,
So
indeed.
what else? What we got for closing? What we closing on?
I think we did. Go ahead.
I just want to give these little tidbits for y'all. This a little so marriage was originally about securing an economic and political advantage. The wishes of the married couple, much less their consent, were of little importance. The bride particularly was assumed to bow to her father's wishes and the marriage arrangements made on her behalf. These are now let me preference. These are not African American views on marriage. There's a whole nother thing, and I said it without the A on purpose. There's a whole nother thing as far as African American marriages, and we need to have a talk about that. And that's a whole nother show. But these are the Anglo-Saxons' view of what marriage is, which is why they wanted to make sure that we didn't. Okay. It was not until 1140 when the Decretum required couples to give their verbal consent and consummate the marriage to forge a marital bond. No longer was a bride and groom's presence at a ceremony enough to signify their assent. In Clandestine Marriage Act of 1753, they mandated that marriages take place in the church. The Marriage Act of 1836, these are acts. Did you ever know that there were marriage acts? I didn't. Allow for non-religious civil marriages to be held at registered offices. Another fun fact, the original wedding vows from the Book of Common Prayer require that the bride, and only the bride, to vow to her to obey her husband. The Book of Common Prayer dates back to 1549, but it isn't the first place these vows can be found. In fact, they date back to the Sarum Rite, which is used in medieval England. Ironically, matrimony at first wasn't religious or legal. The earliest marriages, according to Anglo-Saxons, were essentially casual agreements between families or clans to establish peaceful relationships, trading relationships, and mutual obligations. Marriage wasn't even officially one of the 7 sacraments until 1563. So we talk about these things, and I bring these things up because we have to know that our background and what marriage is not their background and what marriage is. So if our views conflict already, then how will we be able to come together so that they don't conflict? When do we go back to our roots to find out what it is that marriage is for us, so that we can ultimately get back to what it's supposed to be? And that takes you really digging into your culture and knowing what your culture says about it, so that you can know that we were not designed to get married and divorced. We were designed to get married and stay together and work through these things, so that it's not for better or for worse. It's actually for worse and for better. So I hope that you guys really like what we're doing. Derek said
we didn't even have a word for divorce.
But see, they don't know that because they don't. We need this is history that you got to know. Yeah. You got to know your history. James Gifford says, "Thank you for your transparency, Coach Michelamonè. You are definitely a powerful influence." Oh, but bless you. God bless you, James. God bless you.
I agree.
My testimony is for that. They said that you overcome by the words of your testimony. My testimony is simply for me to help other people overcome, because I never want to see anybody in divorce court. And I think that it is a tearing apart of your soul every time you do that. And when you think of me being torn 4 times from my soul and going through that process, it took a whole bunch of healing for me to now get to the place where I am, so that I can now coach people so that they don't have to end up in divorce court.
Yeah.
So,
and to that point, we talk about how we have a different dynamic that we're bringing to the table, and my wife and I have this good relationship that so many people seem to think, like you said, we so cute. And I could have taken my marriage 10 years ago and just rode off into the sunset and just like, hey man, I got mine, you better get yours. But I'm just not built like that.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's an African proverb that says, "I am because we are."
Mm,
Ubuntu.
I love that.
I am because we are. And so I really I feel that, like as my brother would say, down in my shando. And
Yeah.
and so I you know, on the one hand, I do feel good about what I have, but I feel that much better when I'm able to help other people get the most out of what they can get. And
Yeah.
so it's not about trying to help you be like me, or trying to help you be like the Huxtables. You know, it's about trying to help you get the most out of what you have. And sometimes that might end up meaning that what you have is better than what I have. If nothing else, it'll certainly be better for you
Yeah.
to have the best out of what you have rather than trying to emulate me or anybody else. So I am because we are. I love that. I live by that. And that's one of the things that fuels my passion to help as many people as I can.
Yeah. I love it. And we love y'all for real. Thank you all
Good.
so much
Yeah.
for joining and staying with
Yeah.
us. We've been on here for an hour, 21 minutes. We love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a
So
good long show.
I don't have nothing else. I think that we just need to make sure that they are subscribing to our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Um,
And this
go
week's
over.
podcast will be out. We it's been a very long and tedious week for me, but we're putting the finishing touches on that, and this should be ready by Wednesday for download. So, um, you know, we'll be in touch with y'all to let you know where to go and where to get it, how to subscribe to that. So be on the lookout for the podcast that's coming.
Yes, y'all come check us out. We are gonna be in your car. We gonna be on your Facebook feed. We gonna be on your YouTube channel. We gonna make our way to every part of where we can be for y'all. Okay.
Right.
So we thank y'all so much. I am Coach Michelamonè,
I'm Vaun, the Love Alchemist. Love
and
y'all.
we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Peace.